Hello, you are listening to BYOV, where you can bring your own viewpoints. And now we have with us today the Water Goddess. And,
Hey, everybody.
and the Kara Contessa. So today is the first episode of what we like to call Car Conversations. And the conversation for today is chivalry versus chauvinism. So first, let's get a little bit of background. What is chivalry?
Okay, so I pulled up lovely Google,
I love you,
and
Google.
the definition of chivalry is courage, courtesy, loyalty, considerate and courageous to women, gracious and honorable towards an enemy, especially a defeated one, and toward the weak or poor. That is the definition of chivalry.
Interesting.
And now I will do the definition of male chauvinism. Male prejudice against women. Sorry, it's just kind of funny. Male prejudice against women. The belief that men are superior in terms of ability, intelligence, and etc. over women.
Interesting. So the reason why we bring these two topics into discussion today, I'm constantly hearing language in regards to chivalry. Chivalry is dead, and males don't owe women chivalry and any of these other things. Interesting within that definition how they said showing mercy to an enemy. That was interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, especially concerning males. I don't think that was deliberate, but still very interesting to perceive. In terms of chivalry, though, what do you think? Is it owed to women? Is it a responsibility of men to have chivalry? Is it the trait of a gentleman? Like, what do you think?
I do think it's a trait of a gentleman. And I think that the sign of the times currently, if we were looking for evidence of a chivalrous man in comparison maybe to older days, I think it's significantly lacking. I do think that there is included in chivalry is a level of common decency.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that chivalry is not owed to women. I don't think anything is owed to anyone, women or men, but it is kind of like a virtue, kind of like a best practice, something that it would never be a bad idea.
So I remember, okay, so originally this conversation launched because there was a situation where a friend of mine was fully expecting a gentleman to hold the door for her. And he just like walked past her, didn't even bother holding the door for her. I fully feel that he did not have to hold the door for her. She said if he was truly a gentleman and if chivalry is what it's supposed to be, he should have held the door for her out of common decency. In my mind, him being chivalrous is holding the door open. He doesn't have to do that. Just like you said, he doesn't owe her anything. But it seems like she said that he was taking away a portion of her humanity just by not holding the door for her. Like, you're less than human, thus forth I shall not hold the door for you. In my mind, that's beyond the normal expectation of mankind, right? I feel like that's exceptional. I don't expect anyone to hold the door for me, let alone a man. Even if and especially because I'm a woman, I don't expect it from a man.
Well, I disagree. I do expect someone to hold the door for me. And
you do?
Yes.
Stop.
And
male and female?
Yes, and I'm using a very specific narrow example. So in the morning when I'm walking from my train to go to work, I have to walk through a series of doors, and so to get underneath to get to work, and so of course as everyone's unloading out off the train, we're all walking in a big drove. Everybody's going the same way, and so when you're walking through all these sets of doors. Generally, if you have some sort of even basic level of manners, the person in front of you would not let the door slap in your face, and they know somebody's behind them, and you would also hold the door for the person that's behind you.
I think that's an exceptional trait, especially in our society. I don't expect anyone to do anything for me. I don't. On the contrary, I expect you to screw me, and then I have a whole nother appreciation.
But that's a really negative out you. And
it's not like I'm sitting at home thinking everybody is out to get me, or and I know this sounds contrary to what I just said. I'm not expecting everyone to be me, but I hold a different appreciation for any act of kindness anyone performs for me, because I know it is not owed to me. I don't expect you to hold the door. So I'm like over the moon if you make eye contact with me and tell me good morning back if I say good morning to you. Like that's huge for me. Like I don't expect it, so I hold a different appreciation for it. Especially holding the door or anything that would stand in the category of chivalry, especially from a man. I don't expect anything from a man. And that might come from like a personal experience kind of thing. I know for a long period in my life, I had a negative connotation for men. So I don't know if that's just a carryover for that, but I don't ever expect them to do anything.
That's a problem. That's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And I know this is completely off subject, but just some other conversations we've had earlier today. Men, in some cases, are dropping the ball, and women pick up the slack because either women have low expectation, no expectation, or they've been burned in the past. And that's a problem. And that's why women are left holding the bag and pulling double duty, because they have no expectations, or it hasn't been done, and they didn't demand what they should have demanded, and men are being held accountable for their part in it.
Okay, so I agree to a certain point. Yes, there has been a different there's been a change in our society where the women have held the majority of the responsibility in the household and the workforce and everything else. And that, in my mind, fuels a lot of this action towards marching and everything else. Although we can't all agree on what we're marching for, that is a portion of it,
we
right?
should march for something.
We should march for something.
There's always a reason why you can march for.
We're going to march. So I'm totally for it. And I don't mean that mocking. It's very awesome to see the power that we have in numbers. Unfortunately, I don't see the result of that power. I really wish I could, but
is yet to been realized.
I'm just like, wow. We can peacefully assemble, but we need to do something in terms of legislation. We need to be the people in the room making the decision, not on the outside trying to influence the decision. But that is neither fish nor fine china. Got to work on back to this chivalry conversation.
Right.
Yes, there's a change in our society. I do not think it's expressly the result of women taking the places that men are supposed to take, right? I think that it's a personal decision to be chivalrous. It's not a cultural phenomenon.
It's definitely not culturally promoted.
And that's what I'm saying. So how can you expect it in our society? How can you consciously say you're supposed to do this if you know that it's not being taught for them to do this?
Because just because it's not being taught doesn't mean it's not supposed to be taught. It should be taught, and that's where we're lacking. It's not being taught. But that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to expect it because it wasn't taught.
I think the only reason that it had that, so this is something that was very common in the 1960s, 50s, that kind of thing. I think the only reason that it held any kind of weight then was because it ultimately reflected what kind of person you are. And there was a society.
Does.
Yeah, but it doesn't cost you anything to be rude. Right?
It
doesn't cost you anything
immediately.
To be polite. You're right.
Maybe not immediately that I would be able to see, but in
long term,
yes, something all of your actions have a reaction.
Absolutely,
and it can manifest itself, and I would never see it.
Exactly. No, but okay. So beyond that, it's okay. So back then, your word was ultimately your reputation. Yeah. Right? And you had nothing else to solidify who you were as a person or your work ethic or anything else. Everything had to be validated and proven, and there were testimonies and all this other stuff to establish who you are, right? Now I can pretty much paint whatever narrative of who I am. So if whether or not I'm chivalrous is irrelevant. It's whatever I can portray myself to be. So if I can dress like a very well-to-do person and I talk to the right people and I take pictures shaking hands with the poor, it seems that I'm a well-to-do person who takes care of the poor. I could be a freaking jerk, right? So in my mind, because there's less burden to validate who you are in this society, chivalry is irrelevant. Because I can paint the picture that I am chivalrous, and everybody's gonna believe it. So I don't. But I know you're saying there's a level of, oh wow, if you're actually that, then that equates and it will show down the road, right?
Yeah.
But in the immediate exchange,
there are people, right? So let me put some more context, and this probably won't change your thought, but
Mm-hmm.
this is more context to my example.
Okay.
We're all walking, we all unload the same train. We're all walking down the same pedway. We're all walking through the same doors, and we know there's a drove of us.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to get to the door. Why wouldn't you hold the door? I'm not saying stop your pace and wait 15 seconds for me to catch up to you and hold that door open for me. I'm saying I am literally on the back of your heels. Why wouldn't you take less than 2 seconds to just make sure the door doesn't slam in my face as I'm on the back of your heels?
What is he getting for holding the door for you? Nothing. He's getting nothing.
But that's the thing. That what you're saying is that we are living in a society today that if you don't get something for it, why are you doing it?
That's absolutely where we are.
Yes, but again,
I did it for the likes. That's where we are.
I know. I get what
That's where we are.
I get what you're saying, but that doesn't make it right.
No,
and I'm saying
agree.
it's wrong.
I agree.
Regardless of if the entire world could say this is correct and you are wrong, that doesn't mean I'm wrong.
No, okay, I agree.
Or that doesn't mean I would hope for more from people.
No, I have changed my expectation just because it immediately, I appreciate everything. Did you just shake my hand back? Oh my God, thank you so much. Like if somebody tells me have a great day, I can't reiterate that enough.
But you also have to think about where you are, the environment, the social norms for that environment, and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. You go to a business meeting, you're not going to wear flip-flops and a miniskirt. If you are a commuter
you're saying the etiquette requires
during rush hour, there is an etiquette, a general etiquette that business people would follow. And I know that etiquette because I've been working in the business world for years now. And the etiquette would be to hold the door for the person who's walking less than 2 feet from behind you.
But I don't think that's an issue. And this is where we were having the conversation. I don't think that's an issue with chivalry. I think that's an issue with common decency, right? I think that's an issue with your consideration for humanity, right? And I'm not trying to say he won't give food to the poor because
so you're separating
this
social norms
yes.
from, you're looking at chivalry more as like a virtue.
Exactly.
A virtue is
which
like
I
above
think
and
you
beyond
should.
a normal
and I
social
don't
norm.
and if the goal is equality, and I'm not quite sure why the goal is equality, but if the goal is equality, then that means that women should be holding the door for men too. And
no,
if you make it,
it's common decency, yes. Whoever the person is, male or woman, if someone is walking in the door behind you,
but that's what
hold
I'm saying.
the door.
You're making it a humanity.
Nice.
That's a humanity thing.
Yeah, but there are certain chivalrous things that I think men and women can demonstrate chivalry in different ways.
Now, so then we start to have that question of whether or not that kind of behavior should be attached to a gender, right? Because ultimately that's where that whole chivalry conversation comes from. Oh, because men should do this within our society, right?
Yeah.
But if the goal is equality, then that's what I'm saying, women should do it too. Or if you don't like that particular guise on it, let's make it a matter of humanity, right? If you are a human being in this world, I owe you this as another human being, right? But in my mind, I
being
think
chivalrous is different from being considerate.
Exactly. And I think you're looking for him to be considerate, but you're especially looking for him to do it because he's a part of your world, I think. Yeah. Because he's a part of that whole commuter culture, and obviously 60 other people did it in the last 5 minutes. What's your problem? Right? Yeah. But I think it's bigger than that, because even if it's, chivalry is a whole, there's a puddle right here. I don't want you to step on the puddle. I'm going to take out my suit coat and put it on the puddle so you don't step on it.
Yeah.
That's not realistic for me, right?
You don't think so? You don't think a man should do that for you?
I think the only context where chivalry is actually happening in our society is in a romantic context. I don't think anybody's doing that on an everyday basis. I think if they are only doing it out of kindness, not because they are saying, well, I'm a gentleman and this is what gentlemen do.